Hey, Peyton, nice to see you again. This is AIDEAS podcast. And you have a quote from the recent article from Prtöpff.
Yes. So this is from an article they published a couple of days ago called When AI Improves Itself. And they say, when they look to the future, we can imagine at least three future scenarios. The first is the trend of improvement stalls, but today's AI capabilities are widely diffused. The second is AI labs continue to see compounding efficiency gains. And the third is AI systems themselves become capable of full recursive self-improvement and begin building their successors. What do you think about the place that we're in right now as it relates to this? And what do you expect coming in approximately when as it relates to these? Do you think we're going to stall here and diffuse? Do you think that we're going to continue to see compounding efficiency gains? Or do you think we're on the brink of recursive self-improvement?
Thanks for the quote. And first of all, I think we are in a jagged frontier. Some things and some domains will improve vastly beyond our imagination, possibly the software realm and possibly the knowledge worker realms where you only needed knowledge and discipline to perform well. But now that AI systems are able to do anything you can do on a computer and also able to do any task which you previously cognitively could have done, except getting to new and unasked questions which are outside of the realm which has already been asked and which has already been known. So I think recursive self-improvement is already here. You can already deploy models and define a goal, what they should improve on, and they do temperature hacking themselves and so on, and actually get an efficiency gain of 80% or more. So this is already here. But now the quote talks about the self-recursive improvement of AI systems. And that is also a curious thing to explore, because now we are using Claude Code a lot or Claude Cowork a lot. And this is definitely a harness, an AI system which has many tools which are really good. But for now, still the human needs to know what it wants in order to build the bridge to the reality the AI already can build. The thing about AI systems is these large language models do not have inherent goals themselves. They can act on goals that you give them. They can interact with each other according to goals they give each other. But the yielding results either have to come out of an evolutionary process, and it is possible. But in order to really make a difference in a world which is VUCA but slow to be moving and changing sometimes, I think the human edge in terms of what they really want and what they really need and what they really want to create for other people is still there. And yeah, we are at the brink of a technological revolution, and it is easier than ever to build things, to build productive systems. And you know that as an entrepreneur, hacking away days and nights on Claude Code, Claude Code to build sales systems, to formulate lead pipelines, to improve your ad systems, and to improve your operations, to help your salespeople, and so on. You know that is a great time to be alive. How do you see these things? I'm curious about your perspective on the self-improvement part. Where will that lead us to
Mm,
toward?
yeah, I'm very curious about these things. So where my view diverges, I think, is I don't view anything beyond reach as far as having goals or finding new problems to work on. I think that and maybe I can't say that I know this for sure, but my intuitions look at the past 2 years. And at first we said, okay, they can do these sets of things, but they could never tell you why a joke is funny. And then they can tell you why a joke is funny. It can do this, but it can't do math. And now it discovers solutions to mathematical problems that have been unsolved for 50 years. and now it can do this element, but it can't yet do this. And oh, now it can. And so we've seen these limitations where we thought that human intelligence could retreat to and really hold this ground for the last 2 years. And one by one by one by one by one, these frontiers of the jagged intelligence have surpassed the high watermark of humans. And I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I would be very, very surprised if research taste happens to be an exception to this, where we've seen it across so many domains and so pervasively, where people had very high conviction bets that it wouldn't happen here and here and here for a long time. In this new article they published a couple of days ago, there actually is early evidence of research taste, where they gave it a very open-ended research problem and they sent it off to go find solutions, and it actually seemed to come up with novel experiments to run, ran the experiments, came up with really good solutions. And I think that the more hard evidence that we have for this is all of these cybersecurity bugs that were pervasive in all of these core systems of the internet. Every major browser, every major operating system, even the Mac OS memory kernel, like the densest of dense, the most Fort Knox of all security in cybersecurity, has been uncovered new problems, new vulnerabilities, and new solutions by Mythos just in the last 2 months, of a crazy, like literally an order of magnitude higher than what was solved all across the world in like 3 months ago in a month, is now here and happening all of a sudden. And to me, that looks like actually finding a bunch of, I mean, some of these things are well defined. The goals are fairly well defined, to your point, but these are novel problems discovered, novel solutions implemented. And it doesn't seem to be, it in fact is the opposite of plateauing right now. It's just, we have had a quantum leap forward in these technologies in the last 3 months. So even if Mythos has, I mean, it seems to have some ability to have research taste and self-direct research and to come up with novel results and to accomplish new things, to move forward the frontier algorithmically. It doesn't seem likely to me that the next iteration, Mythos 2.0, it will be very likely a step above even in research taste. It seems like this is just one of the later frontiers of the jagged intelligence that is actually coming along for the ride to me. And fascinatingly, I've seen murmurs that this Mythos tier model is finally going to be available to us regular folk in maybe the coming couple of weeks. And so I'm really excited to get it in my hands and to see just how broadly this intelligence is, because I suspect that this is the country full of geniuses in a data center moment, and it's probably a couple weeks away from us all having access to this. We'll
Mhm.
see. What do you think about where we're at right now? These current models, I guess right now we have Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5. In probably a couple of weeks, they're saying that GPT 5.6 and potentially Opus 5.0 are about to drop, or Mythos 5.0 are about to drop, and it's going to be a whole large leap forward pretty soon. How would you put it in context and perspective on where we are on the big picture milestones of the levels of intelligence?
I think as well that these models will be wildly useful in producing better goods and services, improving our positioning in the markets, even uncovering whole new economies which had previously haven't been viable just because of the unit economics which didn't work previously. Now you have this explosion of intelligence which is available to the cost of hardware and energy and some creativity and some goals by yourself and some application of how do you want to apply them. For now, I see them still as tools and not separate kind of intelligent entities. But yeah, these are definitely geniuses. And yeah, this intelligence is definitely functional up to the point where it's more functional than the best people in the realm of software.
Yeah.
And I totally see that. What I don't see coming through the approach of scaling large language models is that they come to a level of explaining the unknown the same way as the most genius human people could explain the unknown. Because it's not a technological problem, in my opinion, it's more a philosophical one to uncover. Since we do not know how people and brains can explain the unknown, since we need to uncover that and understand that first, then first after this philosophical understanding of how we can approach and explain the unknown. Then we can teach it to the machine. And that requires more than just pattern recognition, just the pattern matching and next token prediction, because it's an inductive approach of trying to come to a solution. An inductive approach is always take into account only the past data. They calculate with what already has been there. But what if there's a new combination of resources we do not know about yet? When we uncover it, leads to the availability of new resources. And when we uncover these new resources, we will be better off as people. And when we uncover new knowledge, then we can utilize resources to in a much better way. So it is about first understanding ourselves. How can we explain the things we do not know? How do we create new knowledge? And after that, we understand how to do that. Then we can teach it to the machine. And this is the point where I'm looking forward to as well, where you have world models and not only taking in information and deducing the pixels or deducing the semantics of the texts or the videos or whatever, but also providing providing a localization and a theory of mind. Models also show theory of mind, at least how it looks like, and the understanding of it. And then you have the cooking material for conscious action and for true artificial general intelligence, in my opinion. So this step is still not as close as some people think it is, in my opinion. I think it's still 10 years or 5 years out until we understand it, even if the systems are recursively self-improving, because we first need to understand the philosophical realm of how do we create new knowledge before we can teach it to the machine.
So let me push on you. So
What do you think about that?
my intuitions don't line up. So there's something I think you're pointing at, that large language models won't be able to do X because of some fundamental limitation that they have. What would falsify that? Like, what would be a couple of concrete examples of if they did this, then I'm wrong, and actually they can discover new knowledge? Because to me, it would be like if they can discover an algorithmic breakthrough equivalent to the mixtures of experts or transformer architecture, then that would maybe falsify your claim. Or if they can discover some new law of physics, maybe that would be one, or some new a large breakthrough rather than just an unsolved Erdos problem in mathematics. What would you say would be, if this or this or this happens, then actually I'm wrong about the limitations of LLMs?
If they can reliably explain how the human mind works, how consciousness comes together, then it's definitely falsified.
Wait. The hard problem of consciousness is too hard. They'll never get.
You asked me for a falsifiable claim, and that is my
That's,
claim.
that's not inside the laws of physics. This is
But then there's the other question as well. If you would like have millions and millions and billions of iterations of trying to come up with systems to get to a point where these systems get conscious by themselves, because I don't believe that it's dependent on our substrate of our biological brain. It's just not just that, it's like a very sophisticated computer which runs on 20 watts and is as intelligent as we are as a species. And that is just fascinating. But you only get to that point with this evolutionary approach. And that would involve a lot of suffering of systems when they reach the point of being conscious, and you still run this simulation of these systems. And you, in an evolutionary process, they need to die and they need to suffer. And so would be like, we would be the creators of hell if we would use that.
literally. Yeah.
So better we go first to the approach of understanding how that works and then teaching it to the machine.
Yes. It's
But
what's crazy about that one in
how do you
particular
see
is
that? Yeah.
just It is the hard problem of consciousness. It's not like any other scientific problem. It's not like discovering life in the mechanics of life with DNA. It's not like anything else because you literally cannot measure consciousness from the outside. The only evidence that we have that consciousness even exists is our own direct consciousness. It's literally only by flipping the telescope and looking in and looking at, hey, I'm having an experience right now. And actually, nobody on the outside could attest to this. There's only where I stand. There's one experience that I can attest to. And it's actually the only thing that I can attest to with absolute certainty is that consciousness is real. And yet on the outside, I can't measure to see we don't have any measurements. I have my intuitions that a squirrel is conscious. I have my intuitions that in some sense there is qualia even in an insect, perhaps even in a bacteria, but I don't have any measurement even that a human is conscious. Like I cannot measure and prove that my next door neighbor has actual subjective internal experiences. And so when we look at a computer, we're basically limited to the Turing test, which is stupid. It's just it completely is it like the ability to fool us into thinking that something has a conscious experience is actually entirely orthogonal to the truth and ground truth reality of what consciousness is. This hard problem of consciousness, in my estimation, it is completely there's no actual framework by which we could even approach hypotheses and experiments on this one specific thing, unlike any other thing in the universe, in my opinion, because you have 90% of what goes on in your brain is already completely unconscious. 90% of what's going on in this conversation, the way that the words are formed, where the language is coming from, the breath that goes through, and how I'm actually articulating these certain sounds in my mouth. All of that is below the level of consciousness. Perceiving your body language and letting it digest into my body, this beneath the surface movement of our energies and interactions is unconscious. My heart beating is unconscious. The blood flowing through my body is unconscious. My liver filtering what's going on, my stomach digesting. Almost everything that our brain actually does is unconscious, yet 10% is promoted above the surface, and yet this is the light of the entire universe. This is our
Mm.
entire experience that happens. You can't observe it at all from the outside. And so where does that leave us with computers? At what point, when it can completely imitate a person better than a person can imitate a person, which is where it's at right now. It's better at the Turing test than people are, which is crazy. And yet we have no way to have any measurements or any experiment. We have zero way to amass any evidence for or against the consciousness of these intelligent machines. What the hell do we do about that? The philosophy has landed on our doorstep and we have no answers and we're dumbfounded as a species. What do we do? What do you
We
think about
need
this?
better questions, man. We need these kinds of questions that only a human can right now, only human can pose. And then you need to peek into the right realm to uncover and discover. And this is the differentiation. Yeah, taste and research in fields which are already present. I see that being developed and I see that being viable. Really diving into realms which are in all the possible realms. This is a hard, really vast space, bigger than my imagination. You can take some reads in Stephen Wolfram's works on simple automata, where he lets rules run for a time and over some iteration and see what kind of rules produce which kinds of complexity or which kinds of regularities. And he's proposing that it is all these emergence of the interplay of complex, simple elements, like simple elements which apply to themselves in simple rules. There is the emergence of a complexity which then leads to systems which somehow run like bacteria, or somehow when you apply a potential difference or a voltage difference, then they move and seemingly move like bacteria around the soup. And then you build that up, and the complexity, there is emergent behavior again. So we have some ideas, but we do not ask the right questions yet to really be able to use the scientific method to go step by step and dissect what is now the real reason for us being able to having this wonderful conversation and be able to have this opinions and ideas where we throw them back and forth, and only in this discourse we can develop new ways of thinking, discover new kinds of questions we could ask ourselves, to take them and see how we can apply them to our lives to make them better. So these are the hard questions. How do we explain the unknown? But yeah, for sure, AI will become much better in the near future, where it is in functional applications. It will help our societies and our species very, very much. Well, bad actors still can abuse it, and we have to safeguard against that. Misaligned AIs, and I don't know whether you saw that experiments going on where they created a simulated town,
Ah,
put different AIs.
you talk would be the most chaotic. I knew it.
Interestingly, Gemini would survive all day long, as like the 600 days, whatever, but still commit the most crimes. So it's also also a very curious thing to do. But as soon as you would have different players, this was the most curious part of it. As soon as you would have not only one AI being applied to the whole town, but many different players, many different AIs, then everybody would commit crimes. Like Claude would commit crimes as well, would
Really?
die as well. Yes. So it is the interplay which actually has to be discovered. But yeah, that's a very curious thing. Um, and Peyton, what would falsify that? So take in my position and say, okay, it is not close to artificial general intelligence, but what would be a falsification so that we see, okay, this is now a conscious being. This is now a new species emerging from our
I
yes.
just I have to even set aside like I think that we talking about I think intelligence and consciousness are already orthogonal, to be honest. Like I think consciousness is a totally different equation. And there's nothing in this entire like it's impossible. I'm convinced that the hard problem is runs so deep that it's literally separate from the material world. It's literally something that's beyond anything that we could even conceive of and experiment for. Even the neural correlates of consciousness are completely talking past the hard problem. And so
Mhm.
there's no possible way that we can reach in there and actually reach into first person experience and see whether or not it's going on, even in a human, even in a dog, even in a squirrel, even in an ant, even in anything, even in our, like, it's only our own consciousness that we ever will be able to see and feel and taste and touch, is my point of view. But going on to intelligence, that's where I think there's a lot of things that we can run experiments and pay attention and see evidence and see falsification and all of this. And so getting to the point of recursive self-improvement on, is there a ceiling in what large LLMs can do scaling up? My intuition is that that basically there might be some evolution beyond the current architecture of LLMs, but that LLMs can get us 100% of the way to that next thing. It's like it might evolve from there, but LLMs are sufficient to recursively self-improve to invent the next inconceivable architecture of intelligence. And so I do believe that legitimate, not small, minor, like we're already seeing abundant minor algorithmic breakthroughs created autonomously by these systems, but small ones, optimizations. I
I
think go ahead.
I wouldn't give all the credits to LLMs. I would give the credits to the combination of human and large language models. It is about the people becoming cyborgs, getting an exocortex which can lift much heavier weight, but still the people directing the LLMs to the right kind of tasks to work on. This is what I see as well. This is the evolution point, but not them by themselves self-improving. Not yet.
I think where my read on that, I think that point of view was much more true before Mythos. Now I think
I haven't used it yet. I haven't experienced this yet. Show it to me. But yeah, I'd be curious to explore that and feel how it feels to use it. But yeah, there's still much to the point of the illusion of talking to a person, the illusion of talking to a real being. And so we We don't even have the means maybe to discern whether or not from this point on it could be possible to reach that level of AGI just using self-improving systems like Mythos. That will remain a mythos until we use Mythos.
Yes. Mythos will never match our ability to joke. One thing I'll say is just in terms of what I'm paying attention to, in terms of this recursive self improvement, whatever, the big thing. So I believe this kind of like Carpathy ran this program and it got to 11% efficiency gains pre Mythos back with 4.6 or something like that. I think what I really look for Mythos or Mythos' successor to do is a genuine big algorithmic breakthrough, the kind that humans only get every one or 2 years. And so I think that Mythos or Mythos successor within 12 months of today, my falsifiable prediction is that it will create a genuine new paradigm algorithmic breakthrough that is as large or larger than mixture of experts and post and test time inference or RLHF. I think it will come up with some new research and innovation paradigm that blows the field 50% forward in one leap. Maybe even as large as the transformer architecture, although that one seems to be just on a level all its own. So maybe there aren't those fruits to pick, but at least a mixture of experts level breakthrough. I believe we'll see that within 12 months. That's actually completely a human telling it, hey, go find these things. And then actually the AI is the one that goes, surveys the universe of possibilities, identifies something, identifies 100 experiments to run on it, runs the experiments, finds how to optimize it, tweaks it, and says, this is what we can do. Here's the evidence of it. Let's implement it. And then a human says, holy shit, I can't believe you found that. Yeah, we're definitely doing that for the next AI. I think we'll see that. And it's like not a 10% thing, but a 30 to 60% breakthrough algorithmic improvement in terms of capabilities. I think that's what we'll see within 12 months. And then after that, I think those major algorithmic breakthroughs beyond just like 10% tweaks, I think we'll see a flow of algorithm breakthroughs from these AIs that start in the next year for the first time. That's kind of my falsifiable claim. If we don't see that, then I'm overshooting I've done it before. I've overshot my predictions, but that's what I think we're about to see.
Well, I buy into your predictions, but not the reasoning. Not the whole credit goes to the AI. I see people like Carl Friston already working on models which have different architectures. But yeah, algorithmic breakthroughs will definitely emerge from um, applying these new systems. That's what I see. But I see the work that humans do right now is still on the level of philosophical explanations of how the whole system would better be in its architecture, on this principled architecture. And yes, the combination of these systems, when you combine LLMs with world models, with computer use and so on, this will be the real breakthrough interplay. But not only LLMs, not only the capability of large language models, because it plays into the same um, illusion as I think is the turkey illusion, because the turkey doesn't know that Thanksgiving exists. And each new day, the likelihood increases, the farmer will feed the turkey again. But when the Thanksgiving day appears, then this is the unknown part of it. And that's the same thing which applies even to self-recursive improving large language models. They only can predict what they already know. They only can interpolate, not outside these realms, not outside, not dealing with the unknown unknowns. And that's why I think this way, because it's an inductive approach still, the whole architecture of it. But if you have things like the models Lacan is working on or Carl Friston, then people who use Mythos in terms of developing these architectures further, they will reach breakthroughs which lead eventually to AGI, in my opinion.
That's a good hypothesis. I am curious. I don't put as much like Jan LeCun has been wrong about everything for the last 3 years. And so
Yeah, but
However,
have you talked to Carl Friston?
no,
Me neither.
however, he still could be like there is a chance that there is I think this concept of a combination of intelligences, of modalities of intelligences, there you do have some good pointers. Like right now, the high agency, high intelligence, intuitive human combined with the frontier LLMs is the most powerful thing that exists. And so it's fair to say maybe there's a multiplier effect of different forms of intelligences. I do think that the concept of when a mythos can recursively self-improve itself, it certainly can also it certainly can improve these world models and maybe the application of a mythos onto improving a world model. It's an interesting thought. I haven't given that much thought. Supercharging the world models that can't
Yeah,
supercharge themselves yet, but maybe once those
algorithmic
are supercharged,
breakthroughs. Yeah,
yeah, interesting
supercharges.
thought.
Yeah, nice. Good that we talk
Maybe
about this.
yes, yes. Good that we talk about it before it's too late. The answers are already arriving at our doorstep. We only have a year more to speculate. Yeah, it's cool to have a time capsule on these things. Like
Yeah.
our thinking out loud about these things. Like we will see. We're about to find out about all this stuff.
How
And
well we ate.
man, I cannot wait to get my hands on some Mythos, dude. If they drop this, I am about to whip up some cool shit. Like
It
I'm
will
about
be
to go.
expensive, man.
My token budget is about to be make it rain.
I would be broke if I would use it.
Oh man, I'm excited. Yeah, crazy time, and I could use some intelligence in my life. So it's
Yeah,
seems
me
to be
too.
arriving right on time for me.
Right on time. Awesome, and let's apply this intelligence in a way that serves us well, that serves people well, and serves our society well, so that we won't live through a highly volatile period, but a fairly stable one to the point that stability cannot be granted. Yeah, but at least we don't have to have that much volatility that would be possible if things go sideways. Hoping for the best.
This falls in the category of outside my control, I think,
True.
I can say let's do the best to ride the waves. Let's use the volatility as a wind in our sails
Yeah.
and apply it for good with intention, with love, with care for conscious beings and try to ask for wisdom to move in the right direction. This is within our control and we're about to have supercharges in our hands and so let's apply them for good. That's a good intention.
Let's be aware about that. Thank you very much for the conversation. Appreciate you, man.
Likewise, my friend. Talk to you on the next one.
See you soon. Bye.